Souq morning this lovely morning. Welcome to Business Landscape, where we look at the business headlines from across the world, from continent to continent. My name is Ikenna Mba. I'm here with my usualists. And as usual, I introduce my guest, Dr. Idahosa Osamaze. Your names bring such presence, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Good Nigeria, Ikenna. Good Nigeria, Chips. Good
You know?
Nigeria, Lagos.
Okay, and my other guest is Chooks John Rogers. Hello, Chooks.
Good morning, Ikenna. Good morning, boss. Welcome to Souq News.
How are we feeling this morning? I hope the rain didn't dampen our moods because it's not very bright in here,
The rain was more of a blessing.
right?
Did you consider the heat in the last 7 days?
I hope
We
so.
prayed for the rain.
I hope so. So we jump right to it. We're looking at Business Day. Rising cost of living dampens Nigeria's weak productivity, and you know this is happening in this period where we have scarcity of petrol. The food crisis is going on, and there's this table of 10 productive countries where we are 7th on that list, and it's not a very good place to be. Just above Morocco, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Doctor, what's going on?
Well, a lot has gone real wrong with the level of productivity, especially among the young people, and I see that as a result of our inability to balance education and work, and which for me is fundamental issues. The institutions of education in Nigeria, for example, really do not prepare people for work, and that's so sad. That rejigging of that system is something that needs to be done as we speak, because there are some courses really that students don't need to finish and start to look for a job. I can't imagine somebody who going to read the fishery, for example, and is a CV and unemployed in the streets. That's an anomaly. So this is really the huge challenge that we face. And then, of course, parents also have not had issues who want children to be at university at all costs. And so you see somebody apply for engineering is not getting it, then of course you say, okay, must at least because he must be in the university, so he should go and do chemistry education. And this chap doesn't want to teach in the first place. So you're wondering what he's doing in the education department. Now, all these are the sum total of what is actually affecting the level of productivity. Because where there is no vision, people cast restraint. That's what the Holy Book says. If you don't have a direction where you want to go as a person, as you wake up in the morning, like Alice in the Wonderland, any road take you to anywhere. But if you have a destination in mind, you find it is very easy that, this is my route and this is where I'm navigating through. So I think this is the real problem, the disconnect between education and work is what is really the bigger issue that need to be fixed in Nigeria. So that if people want to, if the whole essence of going to school is to work, so you have to also determine what kind of work do I want to do. And at the secondary school level, guidance and counseling is no longer in vogue, and where it is not even done very well. That the fact that somebody scored a 90% in physics and chemistry and biology does not make that person have a flair for medicine.
Correct.
So all these misnomer in the environment and what is affecting the level of productivity, because once people finish school, they cannot connect with work easily. And we have these myths that the only way to become wealthy is to go to school, especially a university. So it is all these things that are combined. So people live There are a few things we could be doing. For example, now we can't feed ourselves. All the young people with certificates looking for white-collar job that does not exist. And there's a gap in the agri sector, for example, where people can be working and be able to produce food, at least to keep body and soul together. So we've abandoned all these things. So for me, this is what it is. If people are not working, you can't be talking about productivity. And when we are talking about unemployment in an environment that is this massive, because the only way we judge employment is that people are doing white-collar jobs. I think that's very terrible. This narrative needs to change.
Mr. Chooks?
Yeah, it's beautiful that today happens to be Workers' Day, right? Am I right?
Correct.
Like, it's supposed to be May 1st today.
Oh, I have forgotten.
Or it is May 1st today.
I should have wished you happy Workers' Day.
And this particular headline hits home. Now, we need to go back to what it is, that there is dignity in labor. People don't see work as worship. People see work as stress. People look at, just like the doctor said, people look at work more like, let me get a certificate and go to one AC place. Unfortunately, for those in Africa and for those in Nigeria, civil service is the most looked down upon job outside this country. People want to be able to get into the private sector or start something for themselves and employ others, not civil service. But the reverse is the opposite around here. Everyone wants to get into civil service. So when we get productive, that particular narrative will change. But till then, it's our responsibility, mine, yours, to get productive. We can't run away from it.
Right. Well, you see, I also want to point out keenly that people have said, and that's the ignoring problem, that what people learn in universities are not things that they come out readily and put to use.
Yes, but when we start putting the university system to shame, the narrative will change.
Another thing that is a problem is our syllabus. What we're being taught in these universities, what we're being taught in this college of education, what we're being taught in these polytechnics, that they just seem to be theoretical. They're not things that can readily be implemented. What are the low-hanging fruit type solutions that we can readily apply to this problem?
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to be that kind of killjoy person. Now, what has the university offered us all this while? Good, it's nice, but let's also consider some other things. The boy that has spent 4, 5, 7 years in Ochanja market and learned the trade, and the master have settled him. The boy that have spent 3 years in Balogu fixing shoes, or the boy that has learned mechanics somewhere in Ladipo, he's also educated. So let's not take that away. And if we have to be serious, this particular sector will even pay better and more than the guy that went to school and is carrying a certificate looking for a job. These ones are job ready, and they've already started the job already. So when we consider this, let's also remember that there is a sector that pay better and faster than spending 6 years in university.
Yeah,
we need to align that education too.
Yeah, but I think really for me is a redefinition of what education actually means. This is a problem, and this is what is missing in Africa. Because I don't think education happens only at the four wall of schools and classrooms. And even if they are going to happen at the four wall of institutions, what is being delivered for me should be information that helps solve societal problems. And therefore, in the design of curriculum, what should be at the heart of those who are working in that space is to look at what are the problems that we are facing.
And how can we tackle it with our syllabuses?
Yes. So how do we solve this problem? And this should be occupying our mind. If you take, for example, philosophy courses, we study more Western philosophy than we do with African philosophy.
Right.
If you look at psychology, we do more of Western psychology than the psychology of the places where we are here.
And our problem is not their problem.
We don't have the same problem.
Obviously.
So we don't seem to tie our education system with our problem. And this missing link is what is absent. And all you hear is that Even those who are playing within the sector, every day say, oh, education is not funded, education is not funded. Sometimes those arguments don't make sense to me as a person. Because sometimes I'm also asking, what kind of fund do we really need to get education working? Is it to build more classrooms?
Which is not the problem.
The one we have, are they delivering? And if they are not delivering, what should we do for them to deliver on the systems? Do we train petroleum engineers who can drill oil or crude oil from the ground?
It depends on the petroleum.
This is a problem. This is where for me really is that we need our education should study our system. If we are studying pharmacy in school, we should go and integrate with all those local herbal women who knows the herbs. And bring them on board and say, okay, this thing is treating this thing. Okay, let's check what are the chemical components of these things. What dosage will be good for the human health? This is where our education should function. Orthopedic practitioners, you are studying medicine and you are doing bone medicine. You should go to people who are already fixing bone in our natural place and check with them.
How do they do this?
How do they do it? And what more science do we need to put so that this knowledge can be spread? This is where education should be. Not just handing green white paper to people and they send them on the streets to be looking for a job that doesn't exist.
And this is why the entrepreneurs are getting a lot of kudos for the things that they do. And it's another way that we could increase productivity. People are opening small businesses that are encouraged by themselves to open businesses, employ people, and take care of their families.
Definitely. That's like Netflix.
Still on Business Day, old problems haunt 2024 oil bid round. Now, 5 out of 60 marginal licenses in use in the Nigerian government has begun to be processed for this oil bid round. Is it that it's every dispensation or is it every year? Or I don't know how it works that people bid for these oil licenses, and what happens really?
I think the license has a lifespan. If you are given a license to drill, it's for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So after that time, it expires. So it's either you have to repeat, or of course, the doors are open for other people to also compete. And I think that's just what's normal.
So if we both bid, how do I get it? And over you.
Of course, there's a procurement law that governs that transaction. So the law speaks on how, and that's what, of course, you see, they have sent out requests for proposals now. So people have turned in their proposals.
Okay.
Haven't specified what is required for each person who wants to participate to meet. So you send in your proposal, technical proposal, turn your financial proposal, and then of course the tender board sit down, look at what you brought, and then on the basis of value for money, choices are made on who gets what.
Also, from time to time, as technology and research grows, new oil blocks are also discovered.
Oh,
so when it's time for bidding, they also slot it in.
So you have more people.
You have more companies.
I think my real what would have been of interest to me was what the immediate past President Buhari tried to advocate, that rather than give these oil block licenses to individuals, that this thing should actually be domiciled in states.
Let's say state responsibility.
Yes. This processing, that would have made a lot of sense, really.
Correct.
By empowering the states.
I agree totally.
And not just few individuals. I remember some time ago when there was this news that was all over the place that one of the character who has the oil block license said he had so much money and didn't know what to do with it.
Hmm.
Because for merely, of course, signing on a Chinese company to use its license, he was paid over $500 million.
That much?
So imagine what that can do for a state. So you have individuals who are richer than states. Because once money are an individual, they cannot be evenly distributed. But if it's within states, you find that the redistribution of wealth becomes easier. Because yes, states have plenty of stakeholders who will benefit from this. So apart from the fact that, of course, you are creating employment, you also empowering the state from the proceeds that will come. But of course, again, the people will argue that state has never been good in doing business.
Exactly my thoughts. All right, but still on Financial Times, Asian equities mixed after USA talk end worst month since September. So these Asian equities are mixed, and US stocks finished their worst. And how does Asian stock and the US what's the synergy? What's the relationship?
You see, we just yesterday talking about American Secretary of States joining to China, for example, and of course, decision also to reduce the sales of chips to China. All these things that are happening on the business space. And as these decisions are taken, like the rational decision-making theory says, every businessman or every investor is rational. And to that extent, they take decisions based on expectations or speculations. So these speculations are what you see happen. And what is happening, reading and analyzing what's the implication of this policy on this sector. And there's no way that will not affect the equities or the stock of the companies within those region. So I think these are the real issues. And don't forget too, of course, US is about election and a whole lot of things are happening. People are also, investors become very cautious. You know what to do because you don't know what is coming. All these are the things that people do to keep and protect their wealth. So it's not something that is strange to see that at this particular critical moment in history, the stocks are losing value. That for me it should be an expectation because people are trying to project, analyze the geopolitics of the world and how it affects your investment or your assets, as it were.
Something quickly comes to mind.
Also remember, it's an open market.
Mhm.
So everybody is in there
To play.
So whatever news is coming out from any region is most likely going to affect something in that region. So if it's me, I'll pull out and hedge on something I know that is not going to fall. So it's all
How
about.
can you be assured about what's will?
I know where his heart is.
Oh God knows.
I know it. I know my palm.
So once we
tell you
hedge,
where he's going to put it.
once we hedge there, no problem. And if you can foretell that it's really going to fall, then you wait for it. When it gets there, you go back.
And I have told him that road is a very dangerous road.
They say only risk. They say only risk takers take it all. But why does this feel like stocks buying is dwindling?
Buying is not dwindling. It's not. Now this is what most people don't understand. There are hedge fund managers. You don't hear about them in the news.
Oh yes.
But what you get to hear is the me, the you, the 10,000 people. But each hedge fund manager might buy equity more than an entire state to buy.
And that's their focus.
Yes, but you won't get to hear about that. But you get to hear about the numbers, not the figures. So when something moves, somebody is waiting for it to come down to go there.
And
or
mop,
somebody is
mop
buying
it,
on
mop
the
it up.
opposite side of it.
Mop it up. So,
Yeah, but you also see the fact is that if you have watched the market and the way it works, is that the multi-billionaires of this world, they make money in that market. And what they do is that they're looking for where value is. And those who manage the economy know how to drive this. And that was one issues that people have been talking about. So, of course, federal government issued bond. And if the returns on the bond is better than what you find in the stock market, so people move their money out of the stock and put it on the bond and wait for 3 years to make some real cool cash. Now, if the value of the bond is going down or other instrument that government is using is going down, what do you see them do? They come back to the equity market. So this movement of value up, down is what you see in the capital market. And I don't think it's anything that is too strange. But for people who are good investors and with appetite to make a lot of resource, you see them, they can wait. Stock can dip. It really just take a matter of time for it to climb up. And so the fact that it's dipping is even a good time to buy.
yes, buy when it's lowest. Tribune UK.
As long as you are sure the company is not going further.
I was going to ask how can, because if you really tell,
Today, all
you
of
can
those things are
speculate.
taken care of by government institution. NDIC is there. So even when the company goes under, you don't lose your value because
You don't lose the stock or you don't lose value.
you don't lose the value really. You don't lose your stock.
You don't lose your stock, but you lose some value.
Yes, of course.
Obviously.
That's the point at which, of course, the company is going on. That the value of the stock at that time is what is yours.
Is what you get.
Yes, yeah. So, but what I'm saying is that you have a system that is in place to ensure that if this is happening, then of course government agencies intervene to ensure that people who have money in the system don't lose it. All of what is happening, and if companies are going bankrupt, you have Conde also to intervene and say that
What's going on?
their managed and stabilized by government so that they don't go under. Some of those mechanisms are already well thought out and they are in place. And then, of course, people are also daring. If you're as daring as Tony Elumelu, you can buy off a company that is floating with their liabilities and turn it over.
And turn it around.
They get to wait for the company to really go under, where you have no say. It's always business.
Yes, it is. Keep your value. Productivity is going down. So we're also tried. Tribune UK IMF board approves $1.1 billion. Now, this is funding for Pakistan on Monday as the second tranche to their $3 billion loan that they've taken. So what I thought there are a lot of good business is happening in Asia. We're looking at Bangladesh, India, Pakistan. Why do they need this much money?
3 billion.
Yes, $3 billion?
For Pakistan, 3 billion is not much.
Pakistan is a small country.
Well, size-wise or economy-wise. For if they see a need for it and the government see that they need the money, good and fine. Now, it could also be two ways. Hope you know. IMF might be looking for inroads into Pakistan or inroads into a sector in that particular place. It might not just be the Pakistani government. It's a two-way thing. It could be the Pakistani government. It could be IMF. So for both, somebody somewhere is seeing a means of getting into a business deal, or IMF is seeing a means of sorting out a problem and also getting paid.
But you see, there are two things here for me. Borrowing is not bad in itself.
It's when you fritter the money away that is a problem.
It's not bad in itself, especially when you borrow for a productive venture and you want to use it for things that, of course, will be able to pay back whatever thing that you borrow. Not just paying back, of course, is able to yield and generate more profit, as it were. So to that extent, borrowing is not a crime, because a lot of people are always afraid to say people borrow. And I think one thing that people really don't understand about borrowing is that they don't borrow to people who are poor, they only borrow to people who have. So, and that's why they are saying, are you still within the thresholds that people can borrow to you? Because there's a level you will be that somebody will look at you, rather than borrow you money, he will just dash you something.
A little.
You know, you ask, you need like 50 million, and they say, okay, well, oh, I need 50 million to do business, and they have sized you up and say, well, I don't think I have 50 million. Please take this 100,000 and find something to do. You know, that kind of a scenario. So for people to give you loan, really, you have to want the sort. And of course, the banker also be sure that you have what it takes to repay that loan.
Correct.
That you have a model in place, that you've done your groundwork, and that there's a likelihood that profit is going to come. So I don't think IMF or any bank for that matter would just want to throw out money on people. Because it's not a social service. They do this just to ensure that people get, they themselves are in business, because IMF is out to also make profits. And wherever business is, there you see IMF and other commercial banks, even for that matter.
Yes. Does IMF, does it seem like, you know how you talked about you, if it's IMF that's trying to get into the country, or the country that wants IMF? What if the country doesn't want IMF, but IMF has to get in there, whichever way? Is this one of those ways? Okay, we're offering you this, you must take it.
No, it doesn't work that way. If you offer that, then you'll be sure to lose that money.
And there are not ways they can protect.
Yeah, but look at it. During the days of Gowon, they were all over the place in Nigeria to say, "Oh, you need more money.
Trying to come here by all means.
You need
Take
more money." They came, and not trying. They came, and then we borrowed, even when we didn't need it. You see,
That's what I was asking.
so that's what I said to you. So even when you didn't need the money, we borrowed anyway, because it gave you the reason why you need to borrow. They say, "Oh, you need expansion. You are doing well, we know, but you need more money so that you can expand." Because they know that the potential for payback is high and huge. Unlike today now that we are going to be writing beautiful proposals to IMF to come and loan us money. Then they were the one coming to us that said, you need money. Even when your rating was A, say your economy was doing excellently well. At that time, we were even talking about the president said, "Oh, Nigeria, we have so much money and we don't even know what to do with the money." And then, of course, we're dashing people money.
But Doc, like you said,
And then,
they
of course,
give it
the
to
bank is
people.
coming to tell us and say,
They
"We
give
need
it to
some
people
money."
that have it, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said. That's what they
Yeah,
come.
yeah, but to some extent, is because it's business.
Business.
These guys are in business. They are not Father Christmas or an NGO that is working out and intervening socially in people's trouble. They are there to make money for the stakeholders, those who have their money in IMF, and they are waiting at the end of, because they are also calculating it as part of their budget every year. What return are we getting from IMF, our investment in IMF? So all these things are a business model that you see. And so nations are open to take it. But for me, there's no harm in taking loan, but don't take loan to go and marry another wife.
Or flex. On to Financial Express, IMF. Should we still stay on this IMF story?
You want to take a loan?
I'm considering it actually.
Okay.
But what's the maximum they can go for a rich country like mine?
You have to declare the country.
IMF prescribes greater exchange rate flexibility. So Bangladesh has pursued greater exchange rate flexibility to get over jitters over depleting foreign exchange reserves. Again, Asia, so much money there, they're doing plenty. IMF is still trying to get in there. They're trying to take these loans. We are complaining about the loans we're taking. People are saying they're not seeing where it's going. Asia are taking all this loan. Could there be...
The thing is this. just like we said, there's a whole lot of politics when it comes to IMF. Don't forget. Now,
Whether you understand it or not,
yes, we might not be privy to a backdoor happening.
international
But
politics
also
is
know
law.
that there is a China somewhere that has a whole lot of stronghold on Asia. And also know that on the other side, there is also a US whose diplomacy is trying its best to reduce the influence of China in her own region. So don't be surprised when you see IMF making inroads in all these places. Bangladesh can solve that issue.
Yeah, but again, it's also to see that it's better to have a flexible monetary policy, and I think for me, is one thing that every nation really need to, especially productive nations, need to explore, because you see, Bangladesh, for example, has a lot of access into the U.S. market, into the European clothing market, into Asian clothing market.
Yes.
And so they're doing so much
Heavily.
in that window. And therefore, floating their exchange rate is also important for them to be able to show up what everything that may not be in the foreign reserve for them. And I think it's part of the things that also Nigeria did in the last 11 months to see how we can have a floating exchange regime. And that can encourage people to want to do business with you and bring in a lot of investment into your space.
Floating. So as we float out of here, thank you so much for being with us on
I
Souq.
am not floating with you again.
No, you last week you said floating is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I say yes.
So
It's currency that is floating.
as we float out of here, thank you so much. I'm Ike Namba. Thank you, Dr. Osamanze. Thank you, Chuks John Rogers. Join us again next time on Friday as we do this. Look at those headlines that are catching our interest. See you next time.